Y'all, it is your boy Neens. We're back at it again with another video. Today's video is actually going to be about Sajin Kamamura and his impact on the story of Bleach and just looking deeper on his character just in general. So I really did want to talk about this just in general, just like these type of videos for a while now, but I just never got down and like recorded it. So this will just be my first, and I do hope you enjoy it and tell me how I can improve. With that being said, before I start, I would hope that you do like, comment, and subscribe if you did enjoy this video. So I'm not going to try to waste your time. I'm going to go into directly what I think are the two most important fights for Sajin, and basically his mainstay fights. His fight against Tozen in the Fakar Kuratown arc, as well as the fight against Bambietta in the 1,000-Year Blood War arc. So obviously this will have spoilers, like obviously I just referenced the 1,000-Year Blood War arc. So if you haven't read it and you're like, oh, I don't want to be spoiled, then I would say click off, because I am going to be spoiling. So in the fight against Tozen, it's basically that I have this different justice than you, Tozen. Tozen's going on about revenge. His justice is going to be revenging or having vengeance for his friend that died toward the Soul Society. And Sajin's like, you don't go this route. This isn't the route that you should be going down. You should actually be honoring what your friend stood for and just trying to do justice, like upholding justice. This is what Tozen originally told Sajin, and that's how they became friends. This is how they bonded. They both were justice like driven people. Sajin, on one hand, being, okay, I want peace, I want justice, I want order. Tozen being like, I want to get revenge. That is the reason I became a Soul Reaper. Yes, I think that justice is good and justice is virtuous. However, I think that it is vice. I think that it is vice when you join a society that killed your friend and don't revenge your friend. That is what he believes. Kamamura obviously disagreeing with this. He's like, all right, then we do have a conflict. And if this is your true opinion, then this is something that has been meant to happen. It's destined to happen. We're meant to conflict on this. So obviously Kamamura's like, you betraying Soul Society, all your friends for this power, that is what is depraved. And Tozen's like, well, I don't think this is depraved because in the first place, I wasn't doing this for y'all. I wasn't trying to uphold some justice that like I've been telling you guys. That hasn't been my point. My point has been revenge against the Soul Society. This obviously being where Sajin and Kamamura have a conflict. So Sajin preaches that you don't go down the path of revenge. This is something that he is constantly preaching. That is something that he does keep to himself. That's something he keeps close. However, in the 1,000-Year Blood War arc, when Yamamoto dies, there's a change in his character. He goes from being like, I don't go for revenge, I am selfless, to being selfish. He turns into a selfish character because he's now pursuing revenge for Yamamoto. He's like, Yamamoto died, now I have to seek revenge for him. I have to kill Yuha. I have to kill this Quincy that stole my Bankai. I need to get revenge on the Quincy for killing Yamamoto. This person that I look up to, similarly to how Tozen looked up to his friend. Similarly to how Tozen went down this path of revenge to sort of, I would say, honor his friend. Sort of like how Sajin's like, all right, this is how I'm going to honor you. This is how I'm going to go about what I do believe. Obviously, at the end of the fight, however, he turns into a dog. And he literally realizes, no, this was not the right thing to do. This is not the way I should have gone about this. Revenge never works out in Bleach. Because when you go for revenge, you're not being true to yourself. Sajin, even at the end of the fight, literally says, don't let revenge change you. That's what he let himself do. He let revenge change him. And that's literally how he lost. Not to Bambietta, however, he lost to himself. He literally left his heart behind. Like, this is metaphorically and symbolically, as well as just literally just being. Sajin going down this path of revenge is now taking his heart and leaving it. He's now a husk. He's literally a husk of a person. Seth the programmer in his video against Aizen, when he was talking about Aizen, has a section in it where he comments on this. He comments on Aizen doing Tozen a mercy killing, so he doesn't become like him. Aizen being the person that is like, okay, I want to be this king, and I also want to be this normal person. Right here, I'm going to insert what Seth the Programmer said about it. So, with that being said, let me just leave that right there. And
asked why he killed Tosin, in which Aizen actually describes killing Tosin was a mercy, because Tosin was torn between himself, his ideas of his friends versus his justice, and his past would rip apart his soul and cause him to rot away. So Aizen saved him from that fate altogether. It could even be implied that Haribel was spared by Aizen as well, severely damaging her and almost killing her to the point that the Soul Reapers wouldn't, anticipating that Orihime could probably heal her. Remember that with Tosin, who he did not want to be healed, he pretty much pulverized him into paste, not just a quick slash or two like he gave the Arankar. This mercy of Tosin is probably a form of Aizen projecting even, as Aizen himself is torn between his two desires as well. One of these being his desire to be the strongest, a perfect, unreachable being, and God for all of those that have none, and also for him to be normal at the same time. This contradiction is what causes the Hogyoku to grant both his wishes, which allows him to survive the battle with the strongest and ascend beyond all, while simultaneously losing to Ichigo at the end.
Be wondering why I had that insert from Seth. Well, it's basically because it's to show the contrast. So Tosin, he dies. Like, that's just over. Like, Tosin's story right there is cut off. But Sajin doesn't die. He actually gets picked up by Tetsuzaimon. And actually, he never fights Yuha. They never actually go up and fight Yuha, which is kind of poetic. This revenge that he wanted, he never actually gets to. Just like Tosin. The revenge that Tosin wanted against Tokinada, he never actually gets to enact it. So it really is poetic that these two friends that fought each other actually had a disagreement, and Kamura preached to him, go down the same path. One dies, however, one gets picked up. That is what Kamura wanted to do with Tosin. Kamura wanted to pick up Tosin so he could go back on the right path. Just like Iba right here, or Tetsuzaimon, is picking up Kamura and being like, don't worry, Captain. We can do this. Don't worry, Captain. So I do find that very, very poetic in a sense. The revenge that you wanted, you never achieve it. However, when you actually keep to yourself, keep to your morals, that you actually keep true to yourself and never stray from that path, that's what actually gives you strength in Bleach. That's what actually means you're going to succeed. That's when you actually succeed in Bleach. When you stay true to yourself. Bleach really has multiple instances where it displays that when you're not true to yourself and when you're being selfish, like I mentioned before, how Sajin changed between being selfless and being selfish in the fight to actually losing the fight, which actually, since he was fighting with Shuhei, and in this fight he was fighting alone, that is another contrast. One fight he's fighting alone. He originally had planned to fight Tosin alone, and if he had gone through with that, he would have died right there without Shuhei. And just like this, he would have just been left there if not for his boy Iba, Tetsuzaimon, picking him up. Just like, you can't just leave. You can't just face things by yourself. That's another theme. That you're not facing this by yourself. You're facing it with others. All these people do impact each other. And just with Kamuro specifically, it's like, as I was just going to elaborate on, when it's like, okay, when we're actually being true to ourselves, when we're not being selfish, we can use Grimmjow, for instance, right? Ichigo's fight with Grimmjow. So Ichigo, when he's fighting Grimmjow, selfish to being selfless, when he's like, okay, I want to fight you, Grimmjow. That is something I do want to do. I acknowledge that. When he's like, okay, I'm only fighting for myself. I actually want to fight you. He actually is losing the fight, severely to Grimmjow. He's getting outclassed. And the moment Orihime's like, Ichigo, don't die, don't lose. He goes from, okay, I'm getting fondled by Grimmjow to actually just catching oh my god, I was about to say catching Ichigo's sword, but catching Grimmjow's arm and then slashing Grimmjow. He goes from losing the fight to actually winning the fight once it's like, okay, I'm no longer just fighting for myself. I have to win. I have to win for these other people that are believing in me. Nell believes in me. Or Hime believes in me. I'm not just fighting this for myself. I'm not just fighting this for the purpose of being like, okay, I just would like to fight. I just want to fight. I'm not doing it just for myself. Instance can also be his fight against Ukiura. The moment that Ichigo loses against Ukiura is on the ground dying, and now Uryu has to fight Ukiura, he turns into a full hollow. He fully hollowifies to protect Orihime and Uryu. And he's like, I must protect them. Orihime's literally crying out. And he's like, at that point, he gets arguably one of his best buffs. One of, like, a fan favorite buff that he gets. A transformation fully hollowifying just to defeat Ulquiorra. When before, he was just like, I won't give up because I know I have to win. To when he's actually protecting his friends, he's directly having to do this to protect his friends. He directly just kills Ulquiorra, like, up front. So to wholly wrap this up, Sajin as a character shows the character going in a full cycle. He goes through his journey. He gets back to where he was at the start. At the start, he's peaceful. He wants law. He's like peace loving. Of all, he is actually a selfless character. He literally leaves his fight with Kenpachi to go where Yamamoto is once he senses his Shikai. So he literally goes back to how that is. He acknowledges that this was not the right way. What I said before to Tozen, something I should have heeded. That's a warning I should have heeded. That's a lesson I taught to Tozen that I should have kept with me. That's something that I now understand again. He's just the epitome of revenge is not the way, and never to let revenge change you. That is what Sajin is for the story. Truly, I do love Sajin as a character. He's one of my favorite captains, and just one of my favorite characters. Just looking into like these two fights specifically, honestly, this branched out from just talking about which fight was better, just Bambietta's fight or Tozen's fight. So I truly do have a new appreciation for Sajin the more I thought about his character and what he did. So with that being said, I do hope you did enjoy this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. If you think I can have some improvements, just tell me how. But with that being said, I'm out.
The key to love is also loving yourself. Now, and love is a very complicated thing. Look at love like a game. Everything is a game. Look at love like a game. If, in order for your partner to respect you, you have to respect yourself. But in the same context, you also have to compromise for them. So it's a very complicated idea. I was disappointed because obviously no one will be able to compromise for me fully, because I would give my all and put my all into things, and I would just never be compensated for the love I would give. So as far as compromise, for one, don't put your pride in the fucking relationship. The shit doesn't work. It makes the shit harder than it needs to be. It makes it complicated. It makes everything hard. Do not put your ego in a relationship. Do not be afraid to blow up your lover's phone. It's the ones that are annoying that love you. It's the ones that will sit there and blow you up for hours and check on you 24/7 and annoy the fuck out of you that care. It's okay to be annoying. Don't try and publicize, I'd say publicize your love in the same context, like show people you're happy. But when you start showing people what you got going on in your personal life, that's when people feel the need to get involved, or people get in the middle and fuck everything up. Keep your relationship to yourself.